you guys. Welcome back to Storytime with Bree, where basically we watch scary stories together and you guys watch it with me. This episode is going to be a little bit different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start picking random channels and watching at least 3 to 5 of their videos, and we're going to react to them. I ran across this one video and I was sitting there and I was having a good time, and I love this man's voice, and I think his voice is in each one, and if it's not, it's cool. So today's channel that we are going to be snooping around is Creepy Animated Stories. At the end of this video, if you like all 3 to 5 videos, go to them and subscribe, because all their genre is basically like this, and their films are very short. They're like 3 minutes, 4 minutes tops, so it's easy to go through each one. And they got such a creepy vibe, and I was just like, yo, I wish that people could subscribe to them more, because they're so good, and they only got 62,000 subscribers. Like, why aren't you guys going to subscribe? We're gonna make that decision at the end. I'm already subscribed. Oh yes, let's talk about the Storytime Film Fest. January 23rd is the last day you can submit something before it falls into the next month. So we got a couple of people actually submitted some videos. So it is not too late. Go and submit your work. Go to the description button and press the thing that says rules and guidelines about what you need to do the competition. It's so simple. It's really simple. Click on that. If you don't even want to watch the video, I feel you. Sometimes I don't want to watch the video. Sometimes I be rambling. Go to the description box of that. It has all the rules and everything you need to know to submit your video. It's very simple. With that being said, let's get into some of these videos. Play. Go subscribe.
A young man was coming back home from school. It was late, and he had to wait a long time for the train.
They look like eyes.
The train slowly pulled up to the platform. The door opened with a rattling sound. The train started off. It was the first time he had seen such a car. It was quite ordinary on the outside, but inside it was old, as if it were from the early 90s. The car was empty. So was the whole train. That's what seemed very strange to the guy. After all, such a train should not stop and pick up passengers. But if it did, then it was on its route. Out of the corner of his eye, the guy noticed that someone was sitting at the end of the car. He looked closely. At the very last seat, there was an odd-looking figure.
No, sir.
The lights in the car kept going out and coming back on. And then something happened that defied any logic. When the lights in the car went out again, it seemed now that the figure was not sitting at the end of the car, but much closer to the guy.
No ma'am, no sir, no they. Like, no.
Each time it came closer and closer.
And you can't even do anything because you're on the train. I would have took off.
I guess I'm tripping. So the guy went back to staring at his phone.
No. You saw what you saw.
He felt someone's heavy gaze on him.
Nah, B. We not playing this game. Y'all. They got me.
We did it, Joe.
Y'all. They got me. I told y'all I was gonna find something good. That's a 10. I noticed that when you turn the headphones up real loud, it scares you. So we just gonna continue. Like, I'm feeling scared. I hope I don't get kicked out my apartment. All right. right, so this next one is called Grandma's Pies, which was uploaded a week ago. Grandma's Pies. That ain't Patty.
My grandmother loved to bake pies. I remember it very well. Pies with strawberries, blackberries, lingonberry jam, and even pineapple chunks. I adored them. I could eat half a pie in one go. We all lived together. It was always like that. I would come home with my mom from kindergarten, and there was a beautiful, delicious pie waiting for us on the table.
Diabetes.
And at dinner, the whole family would eat grandmother's culinary triumph, as my mother used to say.
Grandma got bodies in that pie. Oh, you hear the
But
music?
one day, everything's changed. My parents became kind of sad and downcast. My mom barely spoke to me, and I hadn't seen my grandmother for almost 3 days.
Dang, Pops.
Then, one morning, I heard a familiar cough in the kitchen. Grandma!
Corona.
I ran into the kitchen
She got
and
Corona
sat
pies.
down to the table. Grandma immediately pulled a pie out of the oven, a covered pie. She had never baked a pie like that before. It was odd, but none of that mattered. The pie smelled delicious, and Grandma was with us again. She started slicing it
Corona.
slowly. I noticed something black came out of the edge. Grandma put my piece on a plate and held it out to me.
Grandma, a psychopath.
Tom, what's the matter with you? Granny, she put something disgusting in the pie. Tom, baby, you know, Grandma's gone. She died 3 days ago. I didn't know how to tell you that.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh. You should have known with all that coughing. I wouldn't have ate the pie anyway. That's Corona. This was a week ago. Corona. Alright. Let us see. So that's 2 now. I think we can do another one. This one is called Creature in the Forest. Alright, let's see a play.
I was told this story by my uncle a long time ago. In the mid-90s, he lived in the central part of Russia and earned extra money by transporting woods. It was a tough time. He had to work a lot to support his family, and often he stayed until late night. One day he was coming back home by the forest road. He worked very hard that day and hardly kept his eyes open. Suddenly, something dashed on the dark road. It was impossible to see what it was right away, and he almost rammed into that strange shadow. He pulled up short. On the road in the dark, there was a girl in dirty, wrinkled clothes. What was she doing in the woods 10 kilometers away from the nearest settlement that night?
Turn around.
He felt uneasy.
Why the car moving like that?
But then he worried that that girl who was on her own in complete darkness. There might be bears and pack of starving wolves.
Not my problem.
He gave her a honk and gestured to get in the car to drive her to the nearest village.
Nah, why would
She
you
turned
do
out
that?
to be a beautiful, swarthy girl who did not say a thing and kept her eyes closed. Uncle tried to figure out what had happened and got nothing but silence. Then, to brighten the trip, he reached out for his favorite cassette to put the music on. But as bad luck would have it, He drove into a hammock and dropped the cassette that landed near her legs. He bent over to pick it up.
He got black legs.
While doing it, he felt vile smell of filthy hair or animal and did not realize at once what it was. The smell scared him a bit, but when his eyes got used to the darkness inside the car, he discerned something terrible.
It's a deer, bro.
Something that made him cringe.
That's a deer, bro.
The girl had hooves instead of legs. Muddy and dreadful cow hooves. That minute felt like eternity. He could not say a word, and the mysterious passenger sitting beside him obviously began suspecting something.
Oof.
Then he braced himself and asked the girl to look out for the right front wheel. As soon as she opened the door, he pushed her out and closed the door from the inside. A terrifying cry arose. She was forcing the door, knocking, and Uncle hit the gas. He drove as fast as he could, while that dreadful creature chased him, rending the air and flapping long, chef-like lean hands.
Oh no. At least he thought smart about the situation.
The creature chased him until the edge of the woods, but when it heard barking from the nearest village, it remained there in the dark and let him go. The next day, Uncle and his family left that place and never came back.
And that point.
He told this story to many, but no one believes him except me. Nobody knows who it was or what kind of creature haunted the woods, but those who did never came back.
Boom. I knew it. You can't get me this time, creepy animated. You can't get me this time. Let us see. Creepy man in a cafe. Let's watch that. Come on, we got time. I'm ready. I'm pumped. Alright. And let us play. Y'all see it? Subscribe. And don't forget to subscribe to me. I mean, come on.
Late at night, when I was coming back home from my friends and walking past the cafe, I realized I was hungry. I had a growling stomach and I immediately went in. It was 2 a.m. The burger joint was still open, but there was no one inside. There was a sleepy girl at the cash register. She asked me what I would have, but I said I'd use self-order station, and she left dissatisfied. I made an order and sat down waiting for my food. At that moment, a man in an old jacket with a black hood came in. Because of the dark hood, I couldn't see his face, and it scared me even more. He was standing at the entrance looking somewhere. My number came up on the screen, and the sleepy girl took out a tray of my burger and fries.
I'm gone. Keep the meal. Give it to that man. He needs...
I was about to go get it, when this crazy man stood right in my way and kept whispering something.
Sir, just take the meal. I don't even want it no more. Oh.
There was nowhere to go, and I went straight to him. I had to literally squeeze through.
Nah.
When I was in his immediate vicinity,
Nah.
he whispered with his husky voice in my ear, "I'm hungry.
Eat the meal.
Hungry."
I left it right there for you, buddy. I don't even want it no more.
Fear began to retreat a little. I realized that the man is just hungry and a little weird in appearance. And I decided to buy an extra cheeseburger for him. Having received a tray, I went to him in the hope that he would take the cheeseburger. But when I handed him the tray, he threw it away and attacked me. The food scattered over the floor. I heard the cashier scream, and then I saw this ugly face covered in pimples and boils.
Ugh.
He was sitting on me and yelling to my face that he was hungry. Not some beef or
just
chicken.
gave you food.
He wants to eat human body. like
Can't
mine,
help you there.
young and fresh.
You're on your own.
At that time, I was very scared for my life and almost lost it. I couldn't throw him off of me. That's how strong and heavy he was. That's when I saw the red and blue lights and heard the sirens. The cashier called the police, and the madman stood up from me and ran out the door, where he was rounded up by a couple of tough guys from the police.
Ugh.
Then I found out on TV that he was a cannibal maniac who had been hiding for 7 years and finally went mad and attacked a man in a cafe.
Eh. First off, pause. Let's pause. Creepy man in a cafe. All these signs that point to Burger King. Why didn't they just say creepy man in a fast food restaurant? You.
Mr. Spencer has always been a hoarder for as long as he remembered. He loved antiques more than anything else in the world. Vintage books, watches, coins, busts, cabinets, and dressers. He was also a fan of oil paintings and human portraits in particular. With each day he owned more and more of that stuff. On yet another walk, he decided to drop by the local flea market as usual. Walking along the noisy roads and not finding anything interesting, he was ready to return home. But a lonely salesman caught his interest. More precisely,
I don't like that
it
picture.
was what this man
I like
was
that
selling.
portrait.
A portrait. A female portrait. She was drawn very vividly and realistically, as if a living woman was looking at him from behind the frame. She looked a little over 25 years old, a big forehead, a heavy look, and unusually lively eyes that seemed to be looking at you. Straight dark hair went down beyond the frame of the
Oh
painting.
my gosh, they following me.
There was something in this portrait that attracted him, and he was ready to pay any price for it. It was a little creepy and even scary, and clearly did not claim to be of antique value, but still, somehow, it caught the eye. Without noticing it, Mr. Spencer was already standing next to this man and holding this portrait in his hands. The man gave the portrait and did not ask for money. He just nodded in gratitude, looked back at the portrait in a strange way, and left quickly.
That's strange.
Mr. Spencer
Nah, leave
stood
that
with the portrait in his hands in the noisy
You
flea
don't want
market.
money?
And then, apparently, when he realized that he had received the portrait for free, he was pleased to go home. The portrait looked good only in the bedroom. Besides, there was almost no space on the walls anywhere else.
Yeah.
Already at night, before going to bed, Mr. Spencer felt someone's eyes on him. At half lights, the frame of the picture was not visible, and he mistook the portrait for a person standing next to the wall. There was something alive in that painting. Moreover, the hand's position seemed to have changed.
I didn't even notice that.
Wait a minute, what hands? There were no hands in
Oh
the
yeah,
picture.
there wasn't no hands.
Or did I forget? Well, I guess I'm just exhausted, thought Mr. Spencer, laying down,
get rid of
and
it.
then fell asleep. The next day, the portrait was still hanging on the wall, and the experienced collector could not remember whether there had been hands before or not. Well, of course there have been hands before. They could not have appeared later, the old collector thought again. In the evening, Mr. Spencer was going to bed. He walked past the portrait as usual, and suddenly he noticed that the eyes of the portrait seemed to be watching him. They were clearly following him, moving from side to side. Mr. Spencer tumbled for a long time and could not fall asleep, thinking about how it was possible and whether it was his imagination. Then he took
Get rid of it.
sedatives and fell asleep.
This is getting me scared. I keep looking back like I don't want to die.
The next night, the portrait was still looking at him without taking her eyes off. Mr. Spencer began to think he was going crazy. When he decided to go to bed, he looked at the portrait again. The horror changed his body.
I'm not
His
ready.
breathing ceased, and his heart was ready to jump out of his chest.
Ooh.
It wasn't the girl who was looking at him from the portrait anymore, but a terrible smiling face. He decided to get up and cover it with cloth,
No,
or
no,
put it on
get
the
rid of
floor,
it.
and in the morning
Get rid of
he would put it in the storeroom so it could not scare him again like that. He was just about to get up when he saw the portrait move.
Oh,
The woman's
no.
hands,
Oh.
which were now folded on the chest, straightened up and creeped out of the picture. Fear chained him up. It was so terrible and crazy that he could not get up from his bed.
I would have shitted. Oh.
The hands were still reaching for him. They reached out so far that they were already getting at his ankles. They stretched across the entire
No,
room,
ma'am, no,
right to his
sir.
feet. The skinny hands grabbed him by the legs. He was scared
No,
to death,
ma'am, no, sir.
felt burning pain and
At
fainted.
that point, I would be dead.
And the hands
Your
dragged
arms
him
is
into the picture,
extended? No.
and the old collector disappeared in the darkness of the terrifying portrait.
Oh, that was an interesting ending. Okay. Well, I did not mean to cuss in that, so excuse me. When I get scared, I get a little nervous. I get a little nervous when I get scared. Okay, but that's the end of watching this channel, Creepy Animated Stories. Go subscribe. Like, come on now, like this is good. To me, I feel like this is good horror because the music right, his voice is creepy, the animations is real subtle. It's not like a bunch of like jump scares. It's just the thought of if this actually happened, I would probably die instantly. Before I end this, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the like button, and I don't know. Do y'all think I should ask you guys like some suggestions for me to watch? Let me know in the comment if you want me to start watching some of your recommendations. I mean, it's a small channel, so I feel like more than likely your video would be chosen for me to look at. It's not like a competition, just something that you like, you know what, I want to see her react to that. So let me know in the comments if that's what you want me to do. Anyway, last thing about the competition. Do it. You never know. You never know if you'll make it. I'm telling you, only a couple people submit stuff. This is like a perfect opportunity to see how people feel about your work. That's how I feel about it. Me as a filmmaker, I want people to give me their honest opinion about what they think and what they like and stuff like that. Like, I'm not going to be negative about it, but I like to give people what are the great things about this piece of film that you gave me. So I'll be back. Love you guys, and keep being you, man. I'm getting a lot of love, and I really do appreciate it, and I really want to thank you all for your support me. And my phone keep going off. I just want to thank you guys for supporting me, and through this, pandemic, everything's just falling apart, but we're here together, and that's all that matters. We're just having fun watching scary stories. We gonna make it through this. So I just want to say thank you, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Okay, goodbye.